This meeting is.
Welcome, everybody. We're here at the City of Chula Vista, and we're about to start the San Diego Community Power, Finance, and Risk Management Committee. Madam Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Director Rivera. Director Yamani.
Here.
Chairman Han.
Present.
Mr. Chair.
Member Yamani, if you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And Madam Clerk, are there any items that will be withdrawn or reordered on this agenda?
No, Mr. Chair.
And are there any public comments?
We have none, Mr. Chair.
Great, we will go ahead and then move to the consent calendar. I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the consent calendar. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Consent calendar passes unanimously. We will now move to the regular agenda, and we will pass it over to Dr. Washington for the review of the Treasurer's Report, period ending June 30th, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Eric Washington.
Turn on your mic. Perfect.
Thank you. Again, good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Eric Washington. I have the privilege of serving as the Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer at San Diego Community Power. And I'll be presenting this item this evening, recommendation to the committee to receive and file the Treasurer's Report for the period ending June 30, 2024. Next slide, please. So we ended the period with a net revenue of $1.2 billion compared to the $1.3 billion that we had budgeted for in accordance with our amended budget. So we came in 5 percentage points under what we had budgeted for. Also, we reported expenses of $1.065 billion for the period, which was about 1 percentage point under budget on that line item. That contributed to a net position for the period of $178.7 million compared to the $232.6 million we budgeted for. So you see in the table and the graphic in this slide over to the left, the actual numeric values as well as the graph to depict where we landed with the actual results compared to the budgeted results. So the driver behind the revenue coming in 5 percentage points shorter was we experienced lower than expected temperatures for the period, which contributed to less demand, translating into lower revenues received. The offset to that also related to energy costs came in slightly lower than we budgeted for, which contributed to some of the savings because of the same driver, lower than expected demand. Next slide, please. So this slide is a depiction for this fiscal cycle that began July 1st, 2023. So to orient you to this slide, the bars represent the actual temperatures that we experienced in each month of the year. And then the line graph above the bars shows the 10-year average. So this, you can see graphically where the temperatures were lower than expected, again, driving the lower than budgeted for revenue number. Next slide, please. So this dashboard should look familiar to the committee, but I'll orient it for the sake of the public. So the left-hand side of the slide, the contribution portion, that was the contribution to our reserves. That points to our reserve goals, and I'll return to that topic in just a moment. but we landed the period with a total reserve, including access to unused portion of our line of credit, as well as cash, at 525 million, year to date through fiscal year 2024. And then on the right-hand portion of the slide, we had zero outstanding debt, for the period. And with regard to where we landed in terms of our reserve goal, we hit 57% of the goal. And if I may just go back over to the left portion of the slide, the reserve box, just to make a correction. Our year-to-date total access to liquidity was 412 million, where our target was 525 million for the period. So I wanted to make sure I called out that correction. Next slide, please. Again, this slide shows a trajectory of our reserve build over a period of time and the percentage of the actual unrestricted cash in that portion of the total liquidity, what the contributions of cash, unrestricted cash were over the period of time, landing at the June 30, 2024 period end, where we actually had 142 days cash on hand when we include liquidity, where the actual cash supported 103 days cash on hand. Next slide. This graphic continues to show that we are remaining within the 96% percentage rates over all of our member agencies, broken down by each agency by the numbers in the table at the bottom of this slide, and then the graphic depiction with the bar chart on the upper portion of the slide. Next slide, please. That concludes my presentation of this item, Mr. Chair. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, do we have any public hearings on this item?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And Member Yamani, do you have any questions?
No, Mr. Chairman, with that said, move to,
This is our receive and file, so we will go ahead and receive and file that.
Yes, Mr.
And
Chairman.
thank you very much, and thank you, Dr. Washington. We will now move on to presentation and update on clean energy prepayment financing.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Again, Dr. Eric Washington, Chairman and Chief Financial Officer, and Treasurer of San Diego Community Power. I'll be joined by Mike Berwinger, who will provide an introduction at the beginning of his presentation. But this is essentially a receive and file item to update the committee that will also advance to the board, just for a refresher and an update on a prepaid clean energy transaction that we made some pretty good progress on, and I'll come back after Mike's portion of his presentation with an update to the committee. So Mike, if you're on the line, if you could introduce yourself and do the presentation. Next slide, please.
Sure. Good afternoon. I appreciate you having me. Mike Berwinger. I'm a managing director at PFM Financial Advisors. We have the good fortune to not only work with San Diego Community Power, but with a number of other CCAs. Notably, we've helped folks with a number of prepays over the last few years, which is why I get to come and talk to you this afternoon. Just, by review, what is a prepayment transaction? What is the goal? We are seeking to try and reduce the existing PPA costs by 8% or more. You are a tax-exempt entity, much like your agency, so you have the ability to leverage tax-exempt bonds to do that. And that is what we would intend to do. Just by way of very quick background, the concept of prepayment transactions has been around a long time. It's in the U.S. tax code. The IRS is very clear on how to do these and how not to do these. There have been several transactions, many transactions that have been done over the years, a lot of them for gas to the home down in the Southeast. But since 2021, community choice programs in California have been taking advantage of this opportunity. There have now actually been 12 just since we put this together. There was another one. Ava's done this, Silicon Valley, Marin, Pioneer, CPA, and 3CE, just to name a couple, have all pursued energy prepayment transactions over the last couple of years. And if we flip to the next slide, this is a listing of all of those transactions that have been done. Actually, CPA just did one not more than a couple of weeks ago, and we're up over close to 11 billion now. What I would say, besides the fact that there have been numerous of these transactions, is maybe more importantly that all of the transactions have been able to achieve close to 10% savings on existing PPA prices. And the most recent transactions have actually favored really well in the current market environment, with savings of close to 12%. And we can flip to the next slide. Just sampling, this is not just for CCAs. The other publicly owned utilities in the state have used this and been using it since 2006. A lot of these are for natural gas. So, if you think about it, Long Beach has a gas system that it owns. They did a prepay. A number of the other municipally owned utilities in Northern California and Southern have done these as well. And then we can flip to the next slide. So just kind of an overview of who's involved. There's yourself. You have existing PPAs that have the opportunity to go into the structure and save some money. You need to hire a prepaid counterparty. This is typically a financial institution that also has a commodity presence, so that's somewhat of a limited universe. You need an issuer to sell the bonds on your behalf. To date, everybody has used the CCCFA. That's the California Community Choice Financing Authority. This was set up by other CCAs for the express purpose of helping to facilitate energy prepayment transactions. Your existing power supply counterparties, they will agree to limited assignment agreements to help facilitate this. We'll have some tax-exempt bonds to sell. Those will be sold to investors. What's unique about these is these are non-recourse tax-exempt bonds. So they are not the debt obligation of San Diego Community Power. They are non-recourse. You're only paying for energy that you receive, much like your existing PPAs. And then to help you go through the process, you hire a municipal advisor like myself, and then everybody needs good lawyers. So we have bond lawyers, tax lawyers, disclosure lawyers, energy prepay counsels to sort of help look through the paperwork and all of the documentation that's required. And we can go on to the next one. I think, Eric, you're going to pick it up from here.
Yes, thanks, Mike. Thank you so much for the refresh and the presentation. So this slide, as titled, is a prepayment timeline. So basically, this lays out the timeline of the trajectory of actually closing on a deal. And as you can see, there was quite a number of steps that have already taken place starting back in November of last year, bringing us to the meeting date today, which we are going to be presenting an item. The next item on the agenda actually is a resolution to become a member of the bond issuer that Mike just referred to, California Community Choice Financing Authority. I'll refer to them as the CCCFA. And then, as you can see, we're seeking a recommendation from this committee for that resolution item that will be presented at our upcoming board meeting on September 26th. And then in October, we'll come back with some other documents related to the transaction, which we'll be seeking support on as well, advancing those items to the board for approval, and then ultimately executing on the documents that will affect the transaction with the closing in the early part of December. So as Michael alluded to in his remarks, the benefit to CCAs in doing these transactions and pursuing these types of transactions are to generate some savings in terms of the cost of our energy, which will hopefully allow us to translate some of those savings directly to our regulators. As you'll note from the treasurer's report and from previous budget type items, energy cost is the largest expense in our budget. So this is a way for us to benefit from these types of transactions. And that concludes the presentation of this item, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers?
No, Mr. Chairman.
And Member Yamani, do we have any questions?
No, Mr. Chairman, I had a very good briefing with our CFO yesterday, so I would receive and file presentation and update on clean energy prepayment and financing. I approve recommendations from staff.
Thank you very much. And I wanted to thank you both for your great presentation. And I had another prior presentation with our briefing with Dr. Washington. It was excellent, and I really appreciate the overview, as well as, again, reminding everybody we are a tax exempt agency, and that allows us to utilize those tax-free bonds. So with that, we will go ahead and we will receive and file this presentation, and we'll move to item 4, recommendation for approval on bond issuer for energy prepayment transaction. Dr. Washington, it's your show again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Director Imani. So this item and thank you, Michael, for your presentation. This item is related to the prepaid transaction. This is a resolution approving the selection of the CCFA as a joint power authority as the bond issuer for a portion of the San Diego Community Power Energy prepayment financing transaction. So you'll recall from the financial advisor's presentation, Mike Berwinger, there is the issuer of the bond. So the CCFA is the issuer of the bond. So this resolution calls out that we're required to become a member of the CCFA in order to transact these types of prepayment transactions. There are certain fees that are associated with the membership, and then there's also the level of membership in which we are initially joining the CCFA as an associate member. So this will facilitate the issuance of the bonds with all the various other components that are typically related to these types of transactions. So we're looking for support from this committee to advance this item and support the recommendation for approval at the upcoming board meeting on October 26th. So that concludes my presentation, Mr. Chair. I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers on this item?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And Member Imani.
Mr. Chair, I had a clarification to from our CFO with regards to the membership. And he confirmed that this is a one-time membership joining fee for us. So with the services that they will do, and that's the only fiscal impact. And with the explanation that he had provided me during my briefing, I hope to approve this recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I will go ahead and second that. And I want to thank Dr. Washington and his team. This will allow the San Diego Community Power to have less fees and be able to, in the long run, be able to save our ratepayers money. And so I think in the long run, it is a fiscally responsible way. And so I will go ahead and then, unless somebody has any other items to say, I will go ahead and then call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously passes. Well, are there any nays? Unanimously passes to be able to pass this on to the full San Diego Community Board, hopefully for authorizing us to join the California Community Choice Financing Authority. With that, I will go ahead and see if we have anybody on the dais who would like to make any comments before we adjourn the meeting. Dr. Washington?
Yeah, just again, thanking, both yourself, Chairman Kane, and, Vice Chair Yamani, and, Mayor Aguirre in her absence for the continued support, of our efforts to ultimately be able to, seek ways to be a benefit to the communities that we serve. So thank you again for support.
Thank you, and I thought, Vera, did you have any comments?
I do not thank you very much.
And that's always a good thing when your attorney says they don't have any comments, so. But I wanted to thank, obviously the finance staff, IT staff, and the clerk's office, and all the rest of the staff from San Diego Community Power for coming on down to Chula Vista. And I hope you enjoyed our venue. And because obviously our subcommittee is made up of South County folks from Imperial Beach, National City, and Chula Vista, it just made sense to do it here. So I hope we can do it again if we need to. And wanted to, again, thank you all. With that, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting, and looking forward to seeing you at the full meeting in the next coming period of time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for hosting us.
You're welcome.